Hi everyone, my name is Noise. I have a pretty tough story, and it applies to all those who have ever lost someone close to their heart. In my case, it was my brother. His name was Aaron. He's my twin brother, and maybe that's why we felt so strongly about each other. We always communicated well, until the very end. My brother and I were 10 years old when he passed away, and I felt so bad about it that my parents became more concerned about me than the funeral. It was a real blow. Even a year later, I still hadn't gotten over the fact that he was no longer in my life. He came to me every night in my dreams. We talked like we used to. I would share my deepest feelings with him, and when I woke up, I wasn't in the mood, because I realized it was just a dream. "Honey, can you come home from school a little early today?" "Why?" "Today is the anniversary." "Yes, I remember, but what can I do?" "I thought maybe you could help with the cooking for our guests." Aaron didn't like the whole guest party thing. He even celebrated his birthday because of me, you remember? "Yes, well, people want to come." "What's the point? To eat?" "Noise, don't be so rude." "What's so rude about it, Mum? Am I wrong? Are you telling me that all these people care about me? About you? Our grief? Why would they come? What else can they say? It's not like any of them can do what I really want them to do, bring Aaron back." My mother cried, and I picked at her sore, and it hurt. I felt ashamed of my words, but I couldn't control my anger. My father didn't say anything at all, and to somehow save the situation, I said, "I'm sorry, Mum, I'll come home early." I went to school without a mood. My friend Benjamin didn't ask any questions. By the way, that's probably one of the main reasons I became friends with him after my brother died. And then I thought I could talk to him about this situation to make it somehow easier. "Today's the anniversary." "It's been a year already? Awesome. I'm sorry, man. I'm really, really sorry." "Thanks. Mum's having a get-together for the occasion. If you want to come over, though, I think it's a stupid idea." "Mum feels as guilty about it as you do." "What makes you say that?" "It's obvious. In fact, the dead don't care what happens to their bodies or even their memories. They are with us forever in our hearts. And if they are no longer with us, it doesn't mean that we have betrayed them. And parents are more susceptible to criticism because they gave birth to us, because it is not considered the norm for a parent to bury their child. I think you're angry at your mother. You feel like it's all a big circus. But let her express her guilt to Aaron and to you this way. It's easier for her and your dad like this and nothing else." "When did you get so smart?" "Always have been. We just never talked about it. You made it clear that our friendship is based on a strict respect for personal boundaries." "Where are those terms from?" "My mum's a psychologist." "I see. Why didn't I know that before? Although, let me guess, boundaries." "Right, but I also feel comfortable being friends with you for the same reason." "Thank you for... I hear you, don't bother. I'll come over, look at people, eat." "Ha, that's a good point." But after school, I didn't come straight home like I promised. I wanted to go for a walk, so I went to the park unexpectedly. There were a lot of people there, all with children. Something was running around playing and having fun, and then I remembered the last time Aaron and I had been there, the year before he died. We skipped school for the park and came here and lost track of our time. We spent all the money we had saved and didn't wake up until the evening. Turns out my mum was out looking, calling cops and hospitals and even morgues. Then we got in trouble when my brother and I came home with cotton candy, toys, and too much happiness.
"Hey, man."
"Huh? Is someone calling me?"
"I see a great sadness in you. Longing, unbearable longing, suffocating."
"What? Who's speaking?"
"Turn around."
It seemed to me that my heart would jump out of fear. Slowly, holding my breath, I turned around and saw in front of me a half-mad old woman. "Ah, who are you?"
"I'll help you."
"With what?"
"Getting your brother back."
"How do you know?"
"I know everything. I'm a witch."
"A witch? How will you help me?"
"I'll bring him back."
"You can't. No one's ever come back from the other side."
"Yes, I did."
"What?" She invited me into her tent where she worked. It was pretty messy inside, piled high with junk. She sat down in the middle and started asking questions about me and my brother. And then she said there was a way to get him out of there, and it would be gradual. The main thing is that I shouldn't be scared. I told her I was willing to try. She asked a lot of money for her services, but I had the money and decided I would definitely give it a try. The old woman picked up some kind of musical instrument, then said something in a language I didn't understand. I was sitting there watching her, and at some point, someone touched my shoulder. I turned around and saw Aaron. Of course, I was frightened. I screamed, jumped up out of my chair, and then he was gone.
I told you, don't be scared. You're scaring him.
But did you see it? He was standing next to me. He touched me. How is that possible?
It will be gradual. Sit down.
I sat down and we started again. Aaron came into the tent, sat down next to me, and I couldn't hold back the tears. He hugged me and we talked about how things were going at home. He said he was watching us, that he missed us, and that he loved us. Mum is having a house party tonight. An anniversary dinner? Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Just go and eat. Let her do it. It makes her feel better and it doesn't hurt my feelings. How are you doing in there anyway? Aaron was telling me things I thought I already knew. We talked for a while and then the old woman distracted me, said time was up, and when I turned around, my brother was gone. I begged her to bring him back again, and she asked if I was ready and financially prepared. I agreed to everything, and then she asked if I was ready enough to give him my soul. Yes. Without thinking, I replied, ready. I was late home. Everyone was already there, including Benji. As my brother advised me, I just ate and went to my room. Later, Benji came in. We chatted for a while, and then he said, I feel like you want to be alone. I'm going to go. See you tomorrow. We said goodbye, and he left. When I fell asleep, Aaron came to me again. We talked all night, and I woke up in a great mood. Even my mum was surprised by that, and then Benji at school. After school, I rushed back to the old lady's house, where I met Aaron again. After half an hour of talking, I asked her what would it take to get him to come more often. She sold me some tea to drink for a fee, and it really helped. After I drank it, I got really sleepy, and then Aaron would come over and we'd talk all the time. I lived in hope that he would somehow come back soon, even if it was at the expense of my soul. The meetings with my brother were becoming more and more realistic, but inside I felt kind of discomfort. One day I asked Aaron if it was normal, and he said that's what happens when you lose your soul. I went to that old lady every day, took money from my parents, lied all the time about taking non-existent girls to the movies, going out with Benji and all that. And then one day I got sick, right in the middle of class. I went to the bathroom, throwing up. While I was sitting at the toilet, Aaron came in. He stood next to me and we started talking again. Aaron asked when I would bring the rest of the money so he could come quickly, but I didn't have that money anymore. My parents had asked me to save a little. My brother got angry and said, "That's how you wait for me, isn't it?" I felt ashamed. I called out to him, but he left. And then Benji came into the cabin. He helped me wash my face and then casually asked who I was talking to. I felt so bad that I confessed everything. Benji looked at me like I was an idiot and then asked what I knew about quackery. I got so mad that I punched him in the face. Benji fell to the floor and then said he'd better go away. And then Aaron came in. "Aaron, now is not the time. Go away." "Now is the time. You need money. Ask him for it." "He won't give it to me. I just hit him." "Who are you talking to?" "Aaron." "But he's not here. Are you all right?" "Ask him for the money." "I told you I can't now. Don't you see?" "Can't what? Where is your brother now?" "Standing right there." "Next to you?" "Yes, on the left." "Noise, I can help you. Give me some money." "For what?" "I've got to give my soul to Aaron. He wants to come back." "Did that old woman tell you that?" "Yes, she will help me, only I have to pay her all the way. Aaron is already angry." "Ask Aaron who I am." "Why?" "Just ask." I asked and my brother got mad. He said he had no idea who he was and didn't care at all. Then, on Ben's advice, I asked about our date of birth, and my brother didn't answer either. He was angry. Then I asked what our parents' names were, and he left. "Dude, you're hypnotized. Did she give you anything to drink?" "Tea." Then the folks came into the room. Benji told them everything, and they immediately took me and went to the police. The next morning, we all went to the old lady, and she got scared and then pretended to see me for the first time. This granny turned out to be a charlatan. She had implanted her desires in my brain through the image of my brother and made a lot of money off me. Everything she said about Aaron, she got through me herself through hypnosis. It turned out that our sessions actually lasted 3 hours each, and I felt like I was sitting with her for 30 minutes only. The rest of the time, I was under hypnosis. She was arrested, and they brought me back to my senses. Now I'm seeing a therapist, Benjamin's mum, and she's helping me get over the loss.
My name is Anna. I want to tell you a story about my crazy half-brother Tom. More specifically, how he tried to get me out of the house. To begin with, I didn't find out about Tom's existence very long ago. In general, my father and I lived together. My mother and I were divorced a long time ago, and I don't even remember her. Dad worked and I went to school just like everyone else. But one day, people I didn't know came to our house. I didn't understand what it was at first. A woman with a teenage boy asked me to call my father. I immediately noticed that something was wrong with the kid. He kept looking at me from under his brows. You'd think he hated me, but why would he? We don't even know each other, I thought, and I was wrong. It turned out that this was my half-brother. This woman next to him, his mother. We share a father. Naturally, we were both taken aback by this news. At first, Dad didn't want to admit this fact. He even pretended that they had the wrong address. But the woman was persistent. It was simple. Dad had an affair a long time ago with a certain person, and that woman, when she got pregnant, didn't tell her father about it because he was missing. My father doubted if this was his son, but then he looked at the boy and the questions were settled. He was an exact copy of my late grandfather. Apart from the similarities in appearance with the same hateful look, a little withdrawn, unsociable, taciturn. These two did not think long and stayed temporarily to live with us. Oh, I didn't say. That woman demanded a large sum of money from father for the maintenance of her son. Otherwise, she promised to hire a lawyer and resolve the issue according to the law. Well, while Dad was looking for money, they decided to stay with us. It was the longest 3 weeks of my life. Not only did Miss Hold, Tom's mother, make a mess of the house, but her son continued to stare at me like a killer. At first, I had no idea what this guy was up to. But one morning when I woke up, I saw a note on my dresser in my room. It said, "You're not welcome in the house." I can't say that I was scared, but it was unpleasant, and I knew that Tom was. I crumpled the paper in my fist, stormed into his room, and threw it in his face. I yelled at him, told him it was my house, and let him remember it. At this moment, Miss Hold came in. She saw her son lying awake in bed, and I was yelling at him. Of course, she got it all wrong and threatened me. "If you touch him again, you'll have to deal with me," she told me. Oh, I was beside myself with anger. In the evening, I had a serious conversation with my father. He said that he was sorry about all this, but asked me to be patient for him and my mother. Then he promised to get my mother back, no matter what it took. But first I had to get the money for these two. I gathered my will and decided to be more restrained. The next day, when I got back from school, Tom was sitting in the kitchen having lunch. His mother was hanging around again. My half-brother was in his favorite position, staring at me from the corner of the table. I pretended not to notice him and sat down to eat. Suddenly, the phone rang. When I answered the phone, I went back to my seat and saw dead flies on my plate. I glared at Tom, and he just sat there and didn't even blink. Remembering my promise, I silently threw my lunch in the trash and went to my room. There was a fire burning inside me. I wanted to throw that plate in his face. And so it was every day. Tom was always coming up with something. He would throw my neighbor's dog's feces under the bathroom door, turn off the light in the toilet, and once even cut up my favorite sweatshirt. I held on, but with the last of my strength. I wasn't ready to give up and give him my seat. This was my home and my family, and I was determined to stand up to the end. About 2 weeks later, the little bastard had outperformed all his crazy antics. I once passed by his room. He was just not at home. And there I found a photo from my photo album. Everywhere on my face, eyes are cut out. My mouth, my face is baked with a pen. It was a nightmare. I went to deal with Miss Hold, but she wasn't there either. I know it's not good to go through other people's things, but in her purse, I found medical reports that Tom is suffering from a mental disorder. He's paranoid. That's why he's so unsociable and tried to hurt me in every way. He's just not healthy, I thought. I told my father, and he spoke to Miss Hold. It turns out that she was looking for money for her son's treatment. He is always afraid that he will be left alone, and therefore behaves like this. I know he's made trouble for Anna, but that's only because he thinks she's superior to him in everything. He's afraid I'll leave him and take her with me. It's my fault that he's like this." Miss Holt said to her father and began to cry. I overheard the conversation and felt sorry for him. My father said that if possible, he would help as much as he could. "After all, this is my son too, even though you hid this fact," he said. Dad was very worried about the upcoming conversation with me. He knew how hard the house had been for me lately. He asked me several times to forgive him for what happened, for the fact that I had to pay for his irresponsibility in my youth. Yes, I don't dispute it. I didn't like that everything in our house had changed and that we now had strangers living with us. But when I found out that Tom needed serious treatment, I felt sorry for him. At the same time, I saw how kind my father was. In general, the four of us have been living together ever since. Dad was actively involved in Tony's treatment. We didn't get along very well, but at least he stopped looking at me like a killer. And Miss Holt wasn't such a bitch.